It's alright, it's okay. Chris is traveling today. It's alright, it's okay. Across the country, both ways.
Well, you know, if you ride one of these fat bikes, whether it be RADROVER or any other style, at some point you're going to get a flat. Now, I put a little video together because that's what happened to me. Got a flat tire about 2 miles away. Had to walk it back here to the campground, and there's a bike shop up the road. I could have gone into there and let them do it for who knows how much they'd charge me, because it's electric, you know, it's got some special things about it. Probably been pretty expensive, so I decided I'm doing this myself. Hell, I used to change tires on bikes when I was a kid. If you didn't do that, you weren't riding. So that's the only way it happened, is if you did it yourself. So I'm going to walk through the process of changing the tire, what kind of a pain in the neck it is, and things to watch for, and so on. Now, I know there's people out there that probably have a better way, and probably the guys at RADROVER will see it and go, oh my gosh, this is an easier, you know, this is much easier, and he makes it look whatever. I'm going to show you the way, you know, way I do it, and take what you want from that. So I just thought it'd be interesting, put a little video together on changing the tire. So here you go. Well, I was riding into town and got a flat. Got a nail on the side of the road. One of the only issues with riding, you know, on the side of the road, there's always garbage, glass, nails. Anyway, you can see here, she's pretty flat. Look at that nail. Here it is right there. Look at that sucker. I haven't pulled it out. Let's see what we actually ran into there. If I can get a hold of it. Oh yeah. Look at that. That will definitely cause you problems if you're out on the road. Looks like just a piece of wire or something, heavy wire snipped off of something. Probably a lobster trap. One of the other things I decided I'm going to do as I change this tire is I'm going to use the toolkit. I've got a lot of good tools in the RV, but I think I want to try using the toolkit only to see if I can get this done. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a big issue, but you can watch me through each process. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is get this thing in the right gear. Bring it all the way over to that last gear. So we're good there. Next I'm going to cut that zip tie. You really got to get some leverage on this thing because it's pretty tight in the factory. Like I say, we only got to do it enough to get her loose. I don't want to jack with any of the wiring. We should have enough room there. Just to get her loose. Now on the other side, what's nice about this is that this little screw will kind of hold everything up there while you're loosening stuff up, so the tire doesn't just fall off when you get things loose. So I'll get the nuts loose, and then I'll remove this screw while I got a hold of the tire to get it off of there. Now, I don't know what the torque requirement is on this, but let me tell you what, that sucker's torqued on there. And this wrench with that length, very difficult from the factory for this wrench to get that nut loose. That's a bear. You really need a cheater bar or a bigger wrench, obviously, but you're not going to carry that around. So you may actually have to get a piece of wood or something and kind of give it a couple of taps to get her moving, because it's a bitch. Okay, got that side loose, the other side's loose. Now I just got to take the screw and we'll drop the tire. So I want to show you this on this side before we drop the tire. You can see it on, and this is true of all these gear shifters. If you push down, you kind of get an opening where the tire will come out. This I'll have to push out of the way. And you want to use some care here so you don't jack up the wire at all. while you're pulling that tire off. So this little screw is actually pretty loose. Not too bad. Screwdriver handled that without any problem. So I got a hold of the tire, taking out this guy, set her down, pull my gear shift out of the way. Here she comes. Just like that. Pull the chain off. Just like that, we got her off. Not too bad really at all. So I don't know if you've ever pulled a tire off before, but with these big fat bikes and fat tires, you can pull that off real easy. Look at that. And generally what you do, you just twist over to the side, pull out one bead at a time. And then, I know when I've done this in the past, I left the tire on at that point. You can get the tube out and everything. Now, first thing you want to do is get the valve out. Pop that valve out, and then the whole tire will just pull out, or the tube will just come right out. I went and bought a tube. This is a Kenda fat tire tube, 26x4. It costs about $16. I bought it at kind of an expensive place because there was only one bike shop close by, and probably paid more than I should have. It's also a slightly different size. This is 26x4 because that's all they had, a 4 to 4.8, and the other one was a 3.5 to 4. So I think this will work just fine. I'll take you through that process now. And I'm sure there's some bike experts out there that'll tell you that the way I'm doing this is completely ass backwards and the wrong way, and there's a better way and whatever. I'm just showing you the way I do it. So if someone has a better way, more power to them. It's okay with me, and I actually would be interested in what that is. But here's what I'm going to do. Now I take this tube. You can definitely see some size difference here. First thing you always want to do when you're putting a bike tire on is put a little bit of air in it. Makes it a lot easier to handle and everything else. So we're gonna just put some air. Okay, so as you can see, it's not a lot of air, but enough that it holds its shape. Get our tire over here. Make sure there's no debris inside. Pop this baby in here, just like that. So we got our new tube inside our tire. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure our rim is pretty clean too. Make sure there's no debris or anything else on here. Looks pretty good. Big old freaking spider on there though. Alright, that's okay. First thing, we're going to go ahead and get one bead in at least. First half of the bead, that just pops in there pretty easy. Get our valve stem lined up. Put our valve in there. Our valve stem through the hole. Trick, we'll get that. Now the whole time we want to make sure that stays nice and straight. And we'll pop in the other bead. I don't think I need any tools for this. It's always better for these tires if you don't use any tools. You don't have any damage. You don't have to worry about damaging anything. And it's really not that hard to do. Kind of give her a pull. And there we got it. Now we'll make sure our valve stem's nice and straight. We'll start putting some air in this baby. Okay, we want to get enough air in there that it's pretty tight on the bead. Doesn't have to be all the way to pressure, but at least so the tire's not going to slide around. We want to keep that valve stem pretty straight. So now we'll put this thing back on the bike, show you how that's done. I want to point out a couple of things. You'll notice down here there's a little washer right next to the gear. It's got like a raised area on it. Same on the other side. You see that this washer right here. You want to make sure that is going to fit into this opening right here. So when we go to put it on, we're making sure that falls into place correctly and that both of them are seated correctly when we go to put it on there. So what I decided is, you know, when you're out on the side of the road or in the woods or somewhere, you're not going to have a bike rack to do the work on it. So I decided to go ahead and turn the bike over like you would if you had to in an emergency situation. Now I really want to be careful not to damage anything, so I want to make sure I got clearance under all the controls and all the shifters and everything. Put a couple pads in there just because I don't want to scuff up my grips, and you know, just something under the seat. You may not have a choice, you may not have the stuff to do that, but for what I'm doing here, that's what I want to do. You also notice I took the 2 bolts that hold the kickstand. I took them out just to give me clearance in there, and I also took off the brake mechanism, just took the 2 bolts out of that as well, just so that I don't have problems and I don't damage the disc brake when I go to put this thing back on. We do have, you know, the Allen wrenches. We've got 1 Allen wrench fits all those, so pretty easy to do to get the Allens out. Now we'll go ahead and put the tire on. So the one pain in the neck is going to be this loose washer. You've got to get in the right place. So we'll work on that as we put it in. So we get the tire in, make sure we get our chain. We're going to that first gear, pull that shift mechanism out of the way. Try to keep everything nice and straight as we go in. Now as we drop this in, it's not only one kid you, it's a pain in the neck to get everything aligned and in the right places. One of the things I have to do is make sure that that washer with the little spacer on it seats properly. We'll get that now. Make sure nothing's binding the chain, and so on. Looks like we're in pretty good shape there. Nothing's hitting, wires aren't getting pinched. This side, get it in. Looks like nothing's good. The disc brake's in play. You know, looks like it's in good shape. Now we just need to do a little bit of a turn, and I can put that screw back in. Hold that little plate in place. So we've got our little screw here. Get that tightened up. That's the little guy that goes on that bracket. Okay, now we'll get our bolts tightened up. Same time when we're looking at our the tire, make sure we've got identical spacing on each side. Also want to turn the chain, make sure that looks pretty decent. I'm not going to torque this thing like it was. We'll get her plenty tight, but I also want to make sure it's removable should I ever need to. Okay, now we'll put the brake mechanism back on, and also the kickstand. I'm going to look at this too. I'm making sure that the spacing between the tire and the frame is about equal. It runs pretty true. That all looks really good. Putting the brake on is pretty easy. You just got to make sure that the disc is lined up between the pads. Goes on there real nice and easy, and then just put your bolts in. I think it's definitely worthwhile to take that off, obviously when you're changing the tire, just so you don't damage anything. Kickstand, this thing goes on, you know, of course, really easy. And I liked having it out of the way too, so that I don't bump against the disc brake. It's so easy to take off that why not get it out of the way? Just make everything that much easier. So that's on, and now we'll hook up the wiring. Okay, over here we've got this little cap that goes over the nut once it's tight, just to keep the moisture out somewhat. Put that in. So when we go to hook this up, I can see that there's only one place that it'll plug in together. So we push that together, it goes together pretty nicely. Now we want to get a new zip tie. Give you these nice slots for zip ties. I just have a small package of zip ties here. We'll take one of our little zip ties, that wire over where we want it. Well, we don't want that too tight. We don't want to squeeze the insulation, and just snip that thing off. I believe that's all we need to do there. Another thing I should note on this little rubber cap, we want to make sure she's nice and clean, and that you know, water comes from the top side, that it runs off and doesn't fill up. We don't want to have that thing upside down. We'll make sure that we do our best to get that a nice clean seat there. Another thing before I take it out, I gotta, of course, get the pressure a little higher in the tire. Here's my emergency pressure gauge. That works good. Do a little bit of comparison. I can tell that I definitely need to add some more air, so I'm gonna hook it up and add some air here. Try to get it halfway decent. Okay, well, just took it for a little test drive. Everything works great. Just should note, I don't know if it looked like it was pretty easy to do, because it was a huge pain in the neck. Don't let anyone fool you. You'd only want to do that if you really had to. All in all, went back together pretty nicely.
It's alright, it's okay. Chris is traveling today. It's alright, it's okay. Across the country, both ways. Had enough of the 9 to 5. Time for me to go out and make a life. Well, that ain't enough, it'll be alright. It's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's okay.